All right, let's do it. It's episode 69 of Geographically Challenged. And as a special treat for all of you, Bleh has come with a performance ready for us. Take it away, Bleh.
What fucking am I supposed to do? Like,
I don't know. It's interpretive. Make something out of it. Come on, man. Episode
Show us how to 69.
I hope
Yeah.
I'm not making a gang sign here, but it's like the opposite of the love thing. 69. You just imagine it's actually no.
That actually works.
That actually
Wow.
works.
That
69.
actually worked. There you go. See, everything works out in the end.
I just want to let everyone know that I usually, like Jordan was telling me, I never make it to episodes when I'm traveling for work, but today was special, Jordan. Today's a special day.
Yeah. Today is a special day. Episode 69. Blair couldn't miss it. What's on your cap? The back of on that cap, is that meant to be a mustache?
That's a Mustache Masters cap for donations, which I made. I tried.
Yeah.
I tried, and it was abysmal. Like, I couldn't look at myself. I had to get rid of it. So yeah, at least I have the cap, you know.
All right. Well, one more shout out, I guess, before we kick on into things. This episode is brought to you by Maui Snake. Thanks, Maui Snake, for lending Blair his microphone. Otherwise, Blair would not be able to do this. So
And
shout out to
camera,
Maui.
and camera too.
And camera, mate. You didn't even rock up
Fucking
with your
hell.
own shit. I mean,
you
to be
own
fair,
anything?
I forgot. I
he can't afford it. The salary, the geographically challenged salary, it
I'm a
really doesn't go
mouse.
that far.
That's all I have.
All right. That's good. All right. Well, what are we here to talk about? Obviously, we're here to talk about the major.
69.
Yeah, all that.
Oh yeah, that too.
The major's coming up soon, in a few days, and we've just seen the RMRs all finish off and stuff like that. So everyone wanted to get our thoughts on what was going to happen at the major, going into it from the Asian team's perspective and all that jazz, and we can dive into that. We've got the opening round matches now as well. So look, I mean, Bless, since you weren't here obviously for the last episode, what was your quick take, I guess, on the Asia RMR with FlyQuest, Rare Atom, and who was that other team that made it?
I don't know, like Tyloo,
Something like
but
that.
look, I just want to say I was fucking correct. I called it.
We were
I
all
said it's
correct.
Rare Atom. No, did we all agree on it? I said
No,
my
I didn't.
Mongol. Yeah, Pilski being the
Pilski got
eternal
overruled. So
nature.
by de facto, Geographically Challenged was correct. So congrats, Pilski, you got it right.
Yay! I love that.
Very quickly, I guess Mongolz dropping the first map to Drillers in the final game was a little annoying because Mirage is a map they always go for, and sometimes they always have these really slow starts, right? And it worries me a bit because they're going to be going up against much better teams on, when it comes to the major and all of that. And when you have Mirage in the pool and you're dropping a map like that to a team, you should be completely curb stomping. That was a little worrying. Apart from that, well done. FlyQuest gave is scared initially losing to sorry, not Alter Ego, Talon, but able to make it up. And then I guess Rare Atom was a bit of a surprise. I won't lie. The fact that they managed to pull through, even though I did pick them, they didn't necessarily look the best to start things off. But in the end, as the Mongolz Twitter account tweeted out, the wall stands tall, and we have kept the invaders at bay. I'm very happy.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, with that in mind, let's have a look at the opening round matches, and we can go through them. Don't necessarily need to touch too much on the international ones, though we can if you guys want. It's really up to you. People are probably interested to hear.
I actually want to start us off by I'll give you mine as well. I'm going to ask you, Jordan, and because it's a major. I know we're going to touch upon FlyQuest and Rare Atom and Mongolz, but I think it's pretty cool, at least an opening stage. There's a lot of teams from other regions as well. Who are your 7 picks to make it through?
It's a good question. That is a good question.
I'll go last. Yeah.
Let me bring up my Liquipedia so I can see where we're at. I mean, I'm obviously going to start off with Mongolz. Honestly, I think Mongolz has a pretty good opportunity to potentially even 3-0 this. Actually, if we look at it from the... So first of all, look, there's so many tangents I want to go down here. I want to talk about the ranking and how it's all been seeded, because I think that's kind of weird in a way, because when you look at the Valve ranking, Mongolz are actually the highest ranked team at this opening stage, but they're not actually the highest seed because of... I don't exactly know. I mean, I think it's because Europe and NA get 2 seeds that are higher than the top Asia seed. So in the end, Mongolz gets the highest Asia seed, but their highest seed cannot be higher than, what are they, like 6th or 7th? Or 7th? I think they're 7th or... I think they're 7th. They're 7th seed. So I don't think they could actually physically be higher than 7th seed, even though when you would look at the teams that are above them, like I think we'd probably put them above a Fnatic, we'd put them above a Big, you could put them above Complexity and maybe Liquid as well at this point. honestly, there's an argument to be made that Mongolz might even be, in theory, the #1 seed in this opening stage, potentially. But they're not, obviously. So I think Mongolz is an easy progression as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I think you'd like to see Liquid, VP, Furia. How many is that? Mongolz, Liquid, VP, Furia. That's 4.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any other like
Complexity?
locks.
No? Really.
I
Yeah,
like
sure.
Cole. I do like Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.
So 5 there.
Yeah.
Pain probably. I think I want to put Pain forward.
Yeah.
I haven't really been paying that much attention to South America, honestly, because
That's
South
fine,
America.
that's fine.
But I remember Pain
Just
being
off-
pretty decent when I watched them.
Mhm.
So that's 6.
6, and just need one more.
One more. It's out of what? Big Fnatic,
Game
MIBR, Gamer Legion,
MIBR,
Cloud9. I mean, there's a lot of choices there.
Maybe
Passion
I don't
UA
know.
was pretty good at the RMR.
I don't think they're
MIBR
gonna...
or Big, surely. If you want to go consistency wise, the thing is, MIBR have VP as their first matchup, whereas Big have got Passion UA. So, and I think Big already beat Passion, didn't they, in the EU RMR? Yeah, they beat them in a best of
They
3,
did,
but there's 3 mapper. I don't know. I'd probably go Big just because I feel like they got a winnable first match, but it's a dangerous one at the same time. Like whenever you get those like CAS teams and the best of ones, you're like shitting bricks because you don't know if they're just going to roll up in the server and 13-3 you just because they feel like it.
I think the opening match was especially, considering it's best of 1, right? If you look at the map pool as well, there's a lot of commonalities. I think 100% there could be a lot of upsets, but then I feel like as the pressure mounts and everything, the usual names are going to go through. I think I agree with most of the picks here. I have a question mark on VP. I won't lie. Even though they did well at the RMR, I'm like, I'm not too sure. So for me, it'd be like Furia, Liquid, Complexity, Mongolz, obviously. I think these are my 4 shoo-ins, like 100% guaranteed. Like they're going to go through, right? The remaining 3, okay, this is kind of wild. I think it's going to be MIBR and Pain, the 2 Brazilians.
Yeah.
I think they look very, very good. I know it's America's RMR and everything.
Actually, I think MIBR is not a bad shout. I remember seeing these guys a bit at. They played at Melbourne, right?
Yeah.
They looked pretty crap there. They look pretty insane. So
and also
the same roster as well for ages.
They made a change as well, right?
Did they?
Wait,
So they changed maybe one player.
Was it MIBR or was it Pain? It was MIBR. Yeah, they picked up Lukowski. And as Lukowski has gotten better and better, they look so much cleaner now with the RMR. They've only had 3 events together, so I think they're definitely... Well, I would pick one of those 2. The 7 one's a tricky one. I think Game Legion really showed a lot. I think Cloud9 has started to kind of wake up a little bit as well. Big, I agree. I think they go low-key, just sneak on through because they seem to have kind of found the groove as well. It's a hard 7th, but I'm just gonna go with Big, man. I just have a feeling this time they're gonna click.
Do we have any hope for FlyQuest though?
Is it?
I doubt it.
Why is it 7? Isn't it 8? Are we trolling? Isn't it 8?
It's 7. 7, right?
Why is it 7? Because there's 8 elimination stage invites.
Oh, 8.
Yeah, so it's 8. Yeah,
dude, I've been doing so many RMRs.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I just was like, man, Bleh must know what he's talking about because he's working the major. I just won't question it. But then I'm like looking at Liquipedia. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's 8. So we can put another one through then, which kind of helps honestly because like actually now that we're talking about it a little bit more, it feels pretty hard. I think once you get below those like shoe-in kind of teams, right? Like I think you're looking at this, you're going, yeah, Cloud9 could do it. Yeah, like I mean, Wildcard and fucking MIBR went 3-0 in their qual. Obviously, Passion UA did really well in their qual. So it's like it's not unprecedented that this is a possibility for them to, you know, maybe go like 3-2 or something like that. Like I think again, a lot of it really depends on the matchups as well that we get. And then I'm like, well, we haven't even talked about FlyQuest or Adam and. You know, is there a 0% chance? I don't think there's a 0% chance.
Well,
I think
they've at least beat like some teams of this kind of level at Atlanta, FlyQuest. So it's like if they hit good form again, then there's a potential chance they could qualify. It's just about whether they can actually turn up, really.
But that's my problem, right? Look at Cloud9, and sure, they've been fucking shit for a while right now, you know, just grinding on online and all the lineup changes. But I look at the results of the RMR, and I was like, you know, they lost the phase, sure, but they took a map off phase, and it's still fucking phase, right? They destroyed Nemiga and Sangal, and it wasn't even close. And against Sinner, who played pretty well, the wins they were, even though it was a 2-1, it was pretty reasonably convincing overall. So, and again, you got to look at the names they played against. I'm just thinking from the most recent form. I think these are the shoe-ins. I think Imperial aren't that great. I think Wildcard had a great run, but that's it. This is where it comes to an end. And for Passion UA, they were like the surprise Cinderella run, but I think teams are going to be way more ready for them this time around. And I think that's, again, they're playing for the very first time. And dude, you could see the nerves, you can see the shaking when they're playing some of those games, right? I think I would love to see them make it through. I think it would be an incredible story, but I just don't see it happening rationally. And Rare Atom as well,
I mean,
they're my 0-3.
I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of looking at it. Rare Atom's 0-3?
Imperial Rare Atom 0-3. I'm putting it out there.
Fair enough. Look, the thing is, like, I think all of these teams actually in the opening stage have had some degree of shakiness. You know what I mean? Like, over the last 6 to 12 months, where you can go like, that probably wasn't quite up to scratch for the level that we expect from this team. So it really feels like there's a pretty open field here, to be quite honest with you, at least in my opinion.
I agree, but it's also like, I feel like for a lot of teams, it's about peaking at the right time, right now. It's leading up to that. And I agree, Cloud9 has been shit for a very long time. Furia has been on the rise as well. Liquid have had ups and downs, but contextually, if you look at it, Liquid, they've been losing against literally the top 5 teams, right? Like your G2s and whatnot. And then you have Furia, who've looked really, really good. I like to see us are doing right now. And then C9 clicking into place. I think these teams, this might be perhaps one of the best major, I wouldn't say results, but you're going to have the most stacked teams move on to the next stage. I just feel like it's setting up in that way. And the upset possibilities are very, very low, if you ask me.
All right, well, let's just do something fun here while we're at it. Hopefully I can do this on the fly without it being too ugly. Oh my god, it's so ugly.
God, you fucked this up.
I've fucked it up, guys. God damn, this is why we need more money. We don't have a producer. I'm the producer. All right. Oh, it's so big.
You do know we are geographically challenged, so we're not supposed to have producers. We're not supposed to have anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
No sponsors.
We just fill
how
until break.
How do I make it smaller, bro? Like, I mean,
click on the corner of the red thingy. Yeah.
All right. So
you always see the Indian for Texas.
So we're predicting Mongolz.
Yeah.
This has to be even smaller.
Holy shit! What are you doing?
All right, there we go. So Mongolz.
Yeah.
Who's number 2?
Furia, Liquid, Call.
Yeah, those are
Liquid.
all good guesses.
So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. 4
MIBR
more.
Pain for me.
MIBR,
I like Pain.
Sure.
I said Pain as well, so I'm agree with MIBR. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 2 more.
Cloud9 big.
Surely VP.
Cloud9 big VP.
But at the same time, if you're picking MIBR with
Game
those
Legion.
1-0 matches, then that's going to make it hard for VP.
Yeah, man, VP. I don't know VP, dude. Like, I just don't get them. I
Yeah,
think
but
C9
I mean,
VP. I think C9 VP.
You can't go.
Are more
You can't
safe.
not say VP. I think like it's kind of trolling to not say VP.
I think C9 VP over Big. But if there was a 9th spot, I'd give that to Big.
You think C9 over Big? Interesting.
I think so. I just have a feeling Big is just too hot and cold for me right now.
My problem with Big is the same as like Wildcard. It's like they won their best of ones and then they had kind of a mid opponent in their best of 3 match to qualify. So I don't know if I'm like that confident in their run.
I'm not either. Like, congratulations, it's been a great run.
I'm gonna go German Pride. I reckon I'm gonna go big.
All right.
I agreed with Blair in the
big.
RMR episode. I'm going to agree with Pilski in the major episode. And
I'm just
when
not
it comes
feeling
back and it's big
Cloud9.
that goes through and not Cloud9, we'll take your job at the next fucking major on the analyst desk. Thanks, Blair. That'll be all right.
Yeah, do it. That's exactly how it works, man.
That's exactly
how
it.
it works.
All right, so there's our predictions. Congratulations. What was I going to say? Okay, let's move this into a bit more of an Asia-centric discussion here. Let's talk about those opening matches. Are they going to be winnable for the likes of these teams? Well,
Asia's going to win, I'll tell you that.
Asia's winning an opening round match. That's fucking sick.
Asia top.
That's right. Unfortunate though that it's worked out kind of that way. I mean, is it? I don't know. Fucking, it's kind of like a gimme. It's kind of like a freebie for the Mongols. I almost think the best case scenario might be Rare Atom gets an upset over Mongols there, because I have more faith in Mongols making a run with a 0-1 deficit than Rare Atom.
I don't think Rare Atom are good. Here's my problem. I don't think Rare Atom are going to beat almost any other team unless they get, a final decider matchup against Wildcard or something.
I think,
but
Rare Atom
I'd rather
FlyQuest could be
Mongols go 3-0.
interesting.
For me, Rare Atom will beat Mongolz is like saying Talon would beat FlyQuest in a best of 1 at the Asia RMR. Like, that's crazy,
And that's exactly what happened.
I think it's even more. Okay, which team? All right, honest to God, like which team do you think Rare Adam can beat amongst all the teams here? And I'm not talking about on a good day, whatnot, but just like objectively, who do you think they can actually beat?
Ah,
I think Wildcard maybe.
Wildcard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wildcard, Imperial,
Imperial,
maybe FlyQuest.
Imperial maybe.
That's
Fnatic.
probably
FlyQuest,
it.
if FlyQuest are playing 4 versus 5, yeah. I don't think they're beating Fnatic.
You don't think so? All right.
No. Again, I'm not talking about like, they pop off Kazi as a big game. None of that. Just like, base
Yeah.
level versus base level.
75% from both teams. Yeah, look, I mean, obviously Mongolz is going to beat Rare Adam in that opening game. I guess the more interesting discussion is, can FlyQuest beat Complexity? I think that's definitely a winnable game.
I think so, kind of as well. I would say on like normally no, but like Cole
Normally, no.
has some like up and down like maps at the RMR for sure. Like they don't look unbeatable right now.
I mean, they lost to MIBR, but it was again close. And MIBR are a pretty solid team, man. Like I pegged them to at least take a couple of big scalps, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So
Almost lost to Boss as well.
I'm taking a look at it's the best one, right? So obviously, I'm just looking at the vetoes here. I'm just gonna say it out loud for our viewers, right? I think Ancient, as Complexity should ban Mirage. You're the favorites here. Obviously you're sharing the common ban. You ban it out. You don't take any chances there. I think they ban Inferno, Mirage, and Ancient. And for FlyQuest, they ban Vertigo. I think it's gonna be Anubis.
Yeah. And that's
Anubis,
well, if it is Anubis, I could see that happening. If it is Anubis,
Nuke.
like, yeah, it could be Nuke as well. You're right.
But I wouldn't want. I think I've seen FlyQuest against better teams than Anubis than on. Yeah, no, they played kind of shit teams on both maps. I think FlyQuest is going to go to Anubis.
Yeah.
But Complexity are pretty fucking good on that.
The thing is, I think when it comes to FlyQuest, they're a really hard team to predict because you just get this like massive roller coaster of a journey from them. So, if we see peak FlyQuest, if we see 100% FlyQuest, like I think that team is potentially good enough to even make it through to the next stage. Like it would be close for sure. Like it would be a 3-2, I reckon. But like peak FlyQuest could do that. But how often do we see peak FlyQuest? Well, once a year, it feels like, really.
No, here's my problem, right? And this is, again, coming to minutiae of like the players and everything. You have a Legion on the other side. You have Halzak, who's absolutely better than Ali in the server. Like, you can't deny that at all, right? And then on top of that, I think Grim has been very, very solid so far. And if you look at FlyQuest, in all honesty, it's been Inns and Dexter stepping up. And sure, Liaz might have a good map.
Backside had a good RMR, just by the way.
RMR, that's the thing. And they're just too up and down. I really feel like FlyQuest, in a funny way, they have this real up and down. Like Inns is the elite, you know what I mean? You have JT and Dexter, both are hard fraggers, and then you look at the op. Halzak is definitely better than Ali, but the other two players like Grim and Floppy, and of course you have Liaz and Backside, so up and down. It's very similar. It's just at the peak of Complexity, just better. I feel. Also, Pilski, I think it's going to be Nuke. I think FlyQuest is just going to ban out Anubis. Why do you want to play on Complexity's one of their best maps? I think they might just duke it out on Nuke. And I'll just say it could happen. Upset could happen. I think they're a decent Nuke team. And as long as, it's not just Inns by his lonesome and Ali decides to plug in the mouse, there could be a chance.
Yeah.
All right.
I could see them taking that victory. And honestly, like, it's a few BO1s. The thing I'm more so worried is not like FlyQuest's capacity to like beat a lot of these teams, because like we saw when the vibes were up at Atlanta, like they're beating teams of a similar caliber to this RMR. Maybe like I would say like 60% of these teams, right? Like most of the teams, and then there's a few better than maybe we're at Atlanta, right? But you don't have to necessarily beat all the good teams, or you can try to like win a BO1 over one of the good teams, like Complexity, for example. So I could see them going through. The only issue is like I'm a little bit worried about how they're kind of handling the pressure right now. You saw that a little bit in the Drillers game. They also lost that BO1 to Talon. There's a few little question marks going into this stage, but it was good to see them absolutely smash Lynn Vision. Like that's a good sign, I guess. Although that team literally has a fufu on it. So
that team, by the way, is not looking very good. We'll talk about that when we get to the EXTREMESLAND discussion. Anyway, but what I was going to say about FlyQuest is like you can at least, it kind of goes both ways, right? Like the game against Drillers, you probably shouldn't have got that close, but then again, imagine the fucking pressure that's on those guys when they've gone down 0-3 in a half of OT. in the last map of the series, and they do manage to bring that back, and they do manage to win it. So it's like, yeah, you know, like maybe the pressure's getting to them to allow it to get that close, but the pressure's not like bubbling over the top and breaking them completely so that they don't win that game. Like, so it kind of is like, you know, it's like you've shown some strength, but you've also shown some weakness, I guess, in that.
Also, you have to point out the fact that Ali's performance, Alice's performance in Atlanta, 1.12 rating, great job. We also like he had some huge moments and all of that. You go back to the RMR, he goes by to 0.98. Now you're like, oh, that's not terrible. It's not as bad as the 0.7s and 0.8s it's had in the past, but brother, you're playing against mostly, you know, Asian teams and shit teams, basically, like mid teams, and he's still not getting over 1 rating as a primary opper. It feels like he's coming back to the mean. I did preface the RMR saying, if he's able to deliver a similar level of performance as he did in Atlanta against lesser opposition, hell yeah, this could be, you know, Ali coming back to some semblance of form, but he's dipped again. And I don't see any reason why I'm going to believe that he's going to perform to the Atlanta level here at the RMR, where the pressure is even more. I just worry, man.
All right. Well,
All right,
I mean, I guess that's enough about enough about FlyQuest. I think I want to sort of frame this a little bit more around Mongolz, right? Because this is it is the Asia RMR. It's the first one in Asia. It's in Shanghai. For all intents and purposes, that is actually home ground territory for the Mongolz, unless they're playing against a Chinese team. I can only hope, and I can only assume that the Chinese fans will inevitably cheer for the Mongols once the Chinese teams are eliminated, right? Because
I think they'll still cheer for them after this game, after this match.
Yeah, and that would because it directly benefits the Chinese audience. We know the Chinese audience, even with regard to the RMR, were actually quite happy with FlyQuest. Like there was some very positive stuff being said about FlyQuest on the Chinese forums and stuff like that, because FlyQuest were the team that ultimately obviously knocked Drillers out of the Asia RMR, and so they were like, okay, well, you know, respect to FlyQuest because, you know, you defended Asia or whatever. Now that's what I assume is going to be the case for the Mongols, and I know that Mongolia and China like clash in terms of like whenever those teams play against each other, it's quite a rivalry. But I do like to think that the Asia Pacific region kind of gets behind its teams when it gets to that point, and so I think also, they will have a home ground advantage in China.
I also want to bring up a point here. When I spoke to the Mongol social media guy, great guy, you know, he speaks great English. He's a guy I've been able to learn a couple of things about the team and whatnot. At Thunderpick in Berlin, he was the main reason why there was this massive Mongolian diaspora who would come in, half of whom we didn't even know what Counter-Strike was, but they're like, hey, there's a Mongolian team playing, we're going to join in, right? And he mentioned how for the team, they felt so invigorated. We could see even in interviews. I think I was speaking to 910. Not 910. I was speaking to Senzu, and Senzu was like, "Man, it was so cool. It was like we're playing 6 versus 5. Like it really helped us play better." Now, this is an X factor, you know, the crowd, and all of that. But if the result we saw at Thunderpick is an indication of how they perform when they have a bit of a home crowd advantage, I think it'd be a great sign if they're able to make it deep. Listen, I'm pegging Mongols to make it a playoffs run.
Yep.
Call me crazy.
Well, no, this is where I wanted to go with this, right? Because the opening stage and the elimination stage, correct me if I'm wrong, both have got an audience. It is a Chinese-only audience. You can't get in if you're not a Chinese citizen or something like that. But if you can go to the finals, the playoff stage, so? I believe the playoffs is open to anybody, but opening stage and elimination stage is local only. That's I could be wrong, but that's what I read somewhere. Regardless of that fact, obviously the vast majority of people there are going to be Chinese just because it's in China. So both of those stages have got an audience, as far as I understand. So I wanted to sort of know, like, how far do we think they can actually go? Like, is this the year for the Mongols, right? Like, I mean, let's just go through the tiers. Realistically, do we see them making it out of the elimination stage? Well, I think, yes, we've all very much agreed on that one quite comfortably. Beyond that...
I mean, wait, you mean the opening stage?
Opening stage. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Fuck these fucking names, bro.
I feel like for the Mongols, and this is something I've mentioned multiple times on this podcast as well, right? I've always felt that once they had that win in Abu Dhabi, after that they've just failed every time. For example, Rio about to make it to the playoffs and then losing to a fucking shit playing VP, right? And then making it to should have made it to the finals of Espoo in Elisa. They failed there as well. I think winning Thunderpick kind of broke that tiny bit barrier where they're like, we can win tournaments. Sure, it's not against FaZe or G2 or whatever, but Heroic are looking pretty solid. Yeah, big prize pool. The pressure was a little bit on. I think once they broke that barrier, they're like, yes, we can make it to the next stage. I don't expect them to make a deep run of the playoffs, but I think quarterfinals is a possibility. It's a real possibility, man.
Yeah, so yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily disagree, right? You're like, okay, they're fairly comfortably going to make it through the opening stage. If we then put them into this elimination stage, are there teams that they can potentially beat that's already invited into the elimination stage? Well, 3D,
Yeah.
3D Max Heroic definitely feel like possibilities. Even FaZe, I
3D
think,
Max,
at this
man,
point.
they've been owning them the past couple times they played.
And FaZe, honestly, a bit shaky at the moment. I mean, that's a toss-up still. I think G2, Na'Vi, Vitality, Spirit, Mouse, I don't really see them beating, but
They did beat Spirit earlier, although Spirit
Yeah.
was
yeah,
horrible.
I guess that's fair.
They're horrible. I don't think they can beat Na'Vi. I'll tell you the teams they can beat. I don't think they can beat Na'Vi, Vitality, Mouse. These three teams for
Definitely
a
not.
fact. I just don't think they can. I think G2 is a possibility. If G2, look a little shady, a couple of players don't pop off,
Yeah.
G2 can vary a bit. But these are, I'm bringing a lot of caveats here. That's my
They don't
problem.
even
Obviously,
need
we're getting stuck in the weeds.
They don't even need to
Yeah.
beat most of those teams. So like they'll only need to try and beat like one or two of those teams in a BO1, or maybe like win a best of 3 in like the do or die stage. And then they need to beat most of the field that they're already playing against, because that's half of the teams that'll make it through, right? Like 8 of the teams that they'll make it through. The only time it's going to get tough, I think, like I honestly think Mongolz can make it into playoffs, but it's always so heavily draw dependent, right? Like if you get a few BO1 upsets, that's the problem with these Swiss stages. You get these BO1 upsets, you're going to end up in the 2-2 match against like fucking, Vitality. Well, probably not Vitality, but like G2, for example, who can lose BO1s. Yeah, or a FaZe. And that's where things could definitely get a little bit sketchy.
I agree with Pilski when it comes to like I said, if he's able to get net a couple of best to 1 wins over some of the favorites, or maybe even just to 1, and then in the 2-2 game or like whatever 2-1 game they go up against one of the teams they're playing in the opening stage. Like I don't know, maybe an MIBR, maybe a big. I think they can beat almost every team here in the group, apart from maybe a good-looking Liquid. Or Elite just having a god game, or K-Surround and Yuri just popping off. Apart from these 3 teams, I think it can beat every other team pretty comfortably.
Mongolz is usually pretty good against the Brazilians, so like they got something against Brazilians.
Not Furia recently, man. Furia recently, I think they've been owned a couple of times. Also because the map vetoes, man, fucking allowing Mara.
I mean, there was a very real possibility for them at Copenhagen, right? Like I think Mongolz kind of fumbled it a little bit in Copenhagen in that elimination stage as well, honestly.
They lost to Pain.
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah, they lost to Pain.
Was it Legacy as well that beat them?
They lost a couple of Brazilian teams. I'm going to go through it one sec.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 Brazilian teams.
They lost to they beat Legacy in the opening stage to make it through.
Right.
Because remember they were 0-2. They lost to Eternal Fire Ecstatic at best of 1s. They beat Amcal, Lynn Vision, Legacy.
Yeah.
They played Na'Vi and Vitality. They lost those games. And then they should have beaten Pain, but they lost to Pain in overtime, which is
right. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Look, I don't know. I just felt like there was definitely more of a world than what was achieved last year, and I don't know that I necessarily would predict last major, I should say. I don't know that I necessarily would predict them to make it out of the elimination stage then, but I think they could have at least done a little better in the elimination stage. Now, though, it feels very realistic that they can make it out of the elimination stage. So that bar is shifting.
And you got to remember, like that after the majors, when we started really seeing them breaking out to tier 2, tier 1.5, to starting to nip at the heels, right? It's after that they won the event in Abu Dhabi. They won the land in Mongolia, beating Bleed. The ascent has been post Copenhagen, so I think we're all justified in having expectations that they are, at the very least, make it very deep in the elimination stage, or hopefully make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think as far as expectations are concerned, or what would we be happy with? You must make the elimination stage. If they don't make the elimination stage, that's a very disappointing event, obviously.
It's a failure.
That is a failure from Mongolz. Yep. If they make the elimination stage, I think I would be a little bit disappointed if they would like bomb out the elimination stage even. You know what I mean?
They got to make quarters. I really think they got to make quarters to put a smile on my face, and if they lose, they got to play well.
Yeah.
Everyone says they're a top 10 team, right? And now I'm gonna very quickly look at the rankings that HLTV have. I'm gonna look at Valve as well as the HLTV rankings. So on HLTV, Na'Vi, G2, Vitality, Spirit, Mouse, FaZe, Heroic, Furia. These are the top 8, right? 9 and 10 are Eternal Fire and Astralis. They're not there. They haven't qualified.
Right? And
Mongolz are at 11.
Eternal Fire, didn't they, most recently?
But they're not in there. So
we're really just as an example.
We're really saying like quarters. Depends on their seed, but like quarters. Yeah, that's going to be hard actually because they'll probably be lower
and they're
seeded
looking at
than
the
the other
Valve.
teams.
And looking at the Valve rankings, obviously, inflated because of ton to pick. They are ranked 5, and out of the top 10 teams in the Valve rankings, 9 of them are there, apart from Eternal Fire again, right? So you want to show that you belong in top 10,
In that
top
group,
8,
yeah.
make it to the quarters. It's simple as that.
You need to make the quarters or literally like just miss out, like lose a 2-3.
I feel like it'll be the same thing though.
And
If
have
they
it be
lost a
against
2-3, unless they lost to
Na'Vi or
someone
something.
really good, like
Yeah.
a team, like unless they were like playing Vitality or Na'Vi or some shit for some reason in the 2-2s or Mals, then I'd be disappointed. Like if they're playing some really elite team that's like in good form and just got unlucky with a few best of ones, then I'm gonna be like, well, BL. But if they're playing like a beatable team and they crash out before getting to quarters, then I'll be disappointed.
I agree.
All right. Well, just to wrap up the major discussion then, there's been talk, obviously, from some of the fans of the show that this is going to be the one that the Mongols win. I just want to
The major.
get a gut feeling.
Major.
Win the major. This is going to be the major that the Mongols win. What's the likelihood? Just because if they were to win, for example, how unprecedented would that be? Is there even? Can we even say there's a 1%? Can we say there's a 10%?
How many teams will get food poisoning in China?
Yeah, well, that's a great
No,
question.
they've been here for a while now. They won't even get it anymore.
That's not good then.
Your jet lag's gone. If the Mongols win the major, it would be the most unprecedented, most insane win, like biggest surprise win. Perhaps I don't know. I can't go all the way back to 2001, 2, 3 because those are early days. It might be of all time. Now you might be like, oh, when Gambit won. But you got to remember, there were a lot of, there are not too many good teams and whatnot. Remember how that played out at PGL Krakow.
I mean, C9 winning in Boston as well was
C9 was good, but even then, it would be similar to a miracle in Boston. It would be.
I think that would be what it is. It is like because it's obviously an Asia major. That was the American major, US team winning. Oh, North American team winning. Let's just say North American team winning North American major. This would be Asia team winning Asia major.
On camera if they won.
I would be fucking.
I would just like shoot my load all over the camera, like, straight up.
But I think the likelihood of that happening. Look, if we're being realistic, it's like a. I don't know. It's like maybe I don't know. I want to say 5%. I don't even know if it's 5%. Really.
Dude, no, it's literally negligible. It's like 0.01 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I get it. To the Mongols fans, I get it, guys. Like, you haven't had a Counter-Strike team to really cheer for like this in a long time. And that's great. I love the enthusiasm and everything, but temper expectations a little bit, Making it to the playoffs is such an if they make it to the playoffs, it's going to be such a massive win for not just Mongolian Counter-Strike, but Asia as a whole, as a region. It would be incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that's a reasonable expectation to have. Winning it and then getting disappointed and then sending messages to the players and shit. Don't do that. Don't be that. Don't do that.
Yeah, if they make quarters, I'll count it as a dub. Like the chances of them like winning the whole thing is almost impossible because they'd have to beat like 3 top 8 teams in a row and like probably 2 top 3 or 4 teams once they make it to like the semis and the grand finals. Like that almost never happens, and they haven't beaten very many teams like that in their run so far. Like they're usually kind of beating the teams that it's like either they're in good form and you're like, oh, like Heroic for example, you're like, oh, they're playing Heroic. These guys have been looking good lately, but they're not like a fucking scary team like Vitality or some shit,
There is one way, and again, this is me really, stretching it
Asia
out.
copium.
The amount of the amount of lineup changes being rumored right now, right? You have Spinks and Vitality, you have Jimpat for Mouse, you have FaZe. We don't know what's going on really with FaZe. The only team in the top
G2.
All of G2, the only team we know for a fact don't have any lineup changes upcoming is Na'Vi. That's why a lot of people say this is Navi's major to lose in a way because they're coming in full-fledged from the fluke at Copenhagen to have be absolutely solidifying themselves as number 1. So, with that in mind, I can kind of see, them having an off map or something.
Yeah.
But still.
I mean, if I'm looking at one of the betting websites. I'm not going to say which one because we're not sponsored, by the way. If you want to be a sponsor and get your name shouted out here, you can do that. Just saying. The Mongols are 8th. in terms of like the odds. It's Na'Vi at $4, G2 $4.33, Vitality $5, Mao $6.50, Spirit 7, Phase $8.50, Heroic 15, and Mongol 16. And then obviously it goes well down to like Rare Atom. Rare Atom are paying $1,001 to 1 to win the major.
Heroic over
Throw $1 on.
Mongols on the odds.
By $1.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that just kind of gives you a bit of an idea, right? Like it's one of those things that like if the planets would align, it is possible. Like, let's say this is okay. Is it? Am I going on a wild tangent here and saying like this is the first major where it's felt like if we really in our wildest dreams dreamed, Mongols could actually win this major? I don't think you could ever have said that in the past.
I don't think so.
We're not there yet.
No, we're not there
yet.
They haven't beaten like top 5 teams yet. Like you gotta beat multiple top 5 teams to win a major. You know.
Listen, my dreams of Megan Fox are more realistic than this.
Oh my god! All right, that's a little bit gross. All right, speaking of gross, I think. Okay, actually, before we move on to the most gross.
Speaking of gross, go on.
No. Before we move on to the most gross news of the Asian week, let's just quickly. Who wins this major? If we had to choose one team, is it Na'Vi? Yeah. I'm going Na'Vi personally.
They've been like top 2 at almost every event. Like they have a really good chance to win it. Like they're the safe pick. And then I feel like any team that goes up against them has got to like play very, very well to beat them. Whereas I feel like
Na'Vi the safe pick. I'm gonna go G2 because fuck it.
G2 would be a great story. I think that'd be a sick story.
Bro,
that would be insane. Though. Imagine.
Bro has gone. G2 can lose. G2 can lose to Mongols and also win the major. Like I love that.
That is G2 though. That is G2 though. They can lose to the shittiest team in the tournament and just destroy Na'Vi in a good day. Which I love that. G2 for me are kind of like they remind me of I don't know, like Fnatic 2015, just absolute bullshittery, right? And I love that. It's fun. Everyone is just boring, Pilski. I want fun Counter-Strike. That's why I like Mongols.
I miss the Olaf. Bring me back.
Yeah. Well, I've got a question. I've got a question for you. In the most gross news of the week, do you miss Auman?
Oh, I've been begging for him to come back. Haven't you heard me on the last few
episodes? We've all been here like, man, I wish Auman would come back. That guy was the GOAT.
Actually, you know what? Lynn Vision, they need a new player. Where's Auman at? You know, Freeman's hustling.
I don't even just want Auman back. I want Auman back as the in-game leader of Tyloo.
Yeah.
That's what we get.
He back as IGL?
He's back as the IGL of Tyloo to replace Jamyang for the EXTREMESLAND qualifier. That's the news of the week. I don't know, man.
Firstly, Jammy boy, why has he done this?
You didn't get input into this last time. So how do you feel about that, Blair? Tell us how you feel about Jamyang going to the cartoon shooter.
Dude, I was so depressed. I was so depressed because this is a team. I'm like, all right, you guys didn't make it to the major, but next year, it's going to be the year of the dragon. Finally, Tyloo, a team who can stand alongside the Mongols. And we just need, 2 teams and maybe 3 teams. And then Jamyang says, fuck you. I like anime. I like hentai. I'm going to go play that game. And he fucked all of us. He didn't 69 us, man. He fucked us in the ass. And I didn't like it. And some people might enjoy that. I didn't. I did not enjoy it.
People might enjoy that. Hey, for the people that enjoy that, it's all good.
So people enjoy that, good for you, I guess. Fucked by a cactus. There we go. No one enjoys that.
Well, I'm sure that you could probably find somebody.
Yeah. You're just going to keep going down the list.
Yeah. Look, we don't have to spend too long talking about this. I just thought it was worth a mention.
I think it's a stopgap measure. I think they're going to, figure out it's not going to work out long term.
Well, from what I've heard... From what I've been hearing, ZDR is actually supposed to be coming in as the replacement for Tyloo. He just couldn't play in this particular qualifier because he played on boring players, which is another Chinese random fucking mixed team.
Did he IGL for Tyloo for a bit there when they were doing some reshuffles and stuff? ZDR? I think he was calling.
Was he? I don't know.
Before Starry came in and before... what's his face?
I don't think we ever got a yes or a no on that one. But from at least my feeling and recollection was, it has always either been Mosey or Jamyang since Advent. And ZDR was in there at times. Cammy was in there at times. Zoking was in there at times. Like maybe one of them was like calling around that at that point. But my understanding, my belief is that ZDR is not coming in as a in-game leader. They've lost Jamyang, who was apparently in-game leading, though I had heard it was also Mosey at one point as well. It just seems weird to me to have Auman come in and you're going to say Auman's going to in-game lead for this one event. I mean, I guess they assume that they are going to have enough quality within that roster to be able to make it through the EXTREMESLAND qualifier, which, I mean, the jury's out on that, so we'll talk about that in a second. I guess now we can just move on quickly to Lynn Vision. And again, Lynn Vision, if you didn't hear, have benched Flying, which, of the players to choose to bench, I think we probably would have been more happy to see a Fufu go.
I think they both got to go, honestly. Like, they need multiple changes, Lynn Vision. In fact, we need to see, like, if you really want Year of the Dragon, we really need to fucking merge these two teams, honestly. Like, we need to merge Lynn Vision and Tyloo ASAP, or we're all going to suffer.
Also, taking Zakher off the op, I read about that somewhere.
That's what I've heard as well, that Zakher's going off the op, and
he literally looks like the best opper in China right now. He looks better than G did, dude. That's insane. Yeah. Like, you found this diamond where you just give him the op, and he's literally hard carried the ass out of the team in every tournament I've seen so far. By the way, even EPL obviously comes to mind. I think he absolutely should be willing the op. And if he says no, I don't want to op, then I don't know what the fuck. It's like Markloff in 2010 is like, I don't want to op, I want to rifle. Yeah. Fuck off.
Yeah. Fuck off. Stupid.
I don't know. I think we need Westmelon, Zakher, Mosey, Starry, and who am I forgetting? Mercury. That's the lineup, boys.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I think the issue with that is, and I was talking to some people in my Discord about this, that they were like, oh, why don't these Chinese teams pull from other Chinese teams, like when they're looking for players? And I think the big issue is that a lot of them have these ridiculous buyouts on their players.
The organization, I've literally been on a Chinese org before, and I looked at the contract and I refused to sign it. It had like clauses like at the end of the contract, there was a clause that was like, if you breach the contract, we can sue you twice or sue you multiple times for the same thing. We'll sue you in China multiple times if you breach this contract or something, which would have been like 500 grand. Or some shit, and it's just like, I don't even know if that's legal or they could do that, but I was like, I'm not starting this shit, fuck you, bro.
This does remind me a lot of the, how the Brazilian scene were just like stagnating for a long time because the good players were like, when Quesorado was there, and then you had someone like Big Zera on Pain, it's like, can you just please get them together? Because I agree with Jordan, man. You get Westmelon there, Starry, Mosier, Mercury, and Zakher is the op. Take away G, it's fine. Dude, that's a team. That is a hell of a team.
For sure.
Honestly.
That almost makes you, I mean, that team there almost is like more exciting than the Jam Young Tyloo, because at least then you've got Westmelon in as the IGL rather than five guys who are like trying to find an IGL. Like like that would be the change that would make the most sense. I just don't think that we will see.
You have like a selfless entry as well. Like Westmelon will just run in, bro. Like Mercury and will run in, but he wants to get kills. Whereas Westmelon, he'll run through a brick wall like backward. He will b-hop backwards into a site. He doesn't give a fuck.
But Westmelon can actually shoot as well. Like I think compared to Auman or Advent, shout out. He's actually much better. Like, this is a better dream than my Megan Fox.
Mongolz,
so like super team that won't happen aside. Like who are we picking up for Tyloo? Like, I don't want to see ZDR. I'm not going to lie. I want to see Mosey IGL and then like get someone from fucking Bromo, or I don't even know at this point. Like, and I've been looking at like some qualifiers and shit, and we've got like Cat Evil and some of these teams and shit. They're winning games. Like, surely one of these guys is playing good lately.
Yeah, this Ronan baby guy is pretty decent.
Right, he's been there for ages.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of speaking of qualifiers, I mean, we'll talk about the EXTREMESLAND qualifier right now for China that's going on. It is happening tonight, so by the time this episode airs, which will be tomorrow night, you guys will know the result. It'll be either more than likely Tyloo or Lynn Vision. Obviously, down in that lower bracket, both teams still playing for that last spot. What's crazy, obviously, is Cat Evil beat Tyloo 2-0, so this fucking Auman IGL thing hasn't gone so great.
And they beat Lynn Vision.
Yeah, they beat Lynn Vision and Tyloo, so respect, man. You deserve to have that fucking spot. Tyloo looks like they've dominated GR Gaming, so GR Gaming may not have had the couple of months that they would have wanted to.
I actually wanted to, because I didn't watch the last episode as well. I wasn't on it either. Pilski, what are your very quick 1-2 sentence thoughts on GR Gaming after the RMR?
Mid and not good, but they're also from East Russia and they play on 100 ping. So like they are mid. They're mid.
Great answer. Thank you.
They
Thank
are
you. I
mid.
agree.
They're mid.
Quickly
Does
moving on.
anyone disagree that they're mid? Like
No,
they're
I
losing,
100%.
they're
I
losing
think
13-8, like two good teams.
I think they're less than mid. In all honesty,
I
And
don't-
I had my reservations for the RMR. I'm like, no, they're not going to perform at all.
Legit,
But, yeah.
like you'll watch a GR gaming against a good team, and you'll watch the map, and you'll be like, "That was a good round," but then you won't say that for the rest of the map. Like they could do one or two. You're like, "Oh, okay, that guy was good. That was a good round from this Russian guy," and then then they lose. That's GR gaming.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that they're perfectly adequate for what they are, which is not a very exciting team that we're like only forced to talk about because they're at the RMR. Like if they were not at the RMR, we would not have been talking about GR Gaming nearly as much as we have over the last couple of episodes.
I mean, the only reason we're talking about them is because they made it from the East Asia qualifiers
Yeah.
instead of any Mongolian team.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
everyone is like,
Imagine an alternate
without-
reality where Atox
honestly-
is still together, Annihilation
Yeah.
played at the RMR with them, and they're all best friends.
Listen,
They're all
I've
best
seen a lot of
friends there.
self-sabotage. There's been a lot of self-sabotage in my life in the last 12 months. Noah's no. And GR Gaming versus Atox. Atox being a pretty bad example of it. Not the worst example that has happened in my life, but they are one of the bad
I actually
examples.
think GR Gaming killed that team. Like, they lost, and then
They may have.
and radar hacking, and then it was all downhill from there. And then Dobu was talking to Ben 10 on the side.
Adobe was talking to Zine, I think, by the way, was the actual problem.
Talking to Zion on
Anyway,
the side.
oh, and I fucking completely forgot to have a segment about Atox changes. We'll talk quickly. Did we talk about that last week? Was that? I can't remember.
I don't know, bro. I don't remember what I
Whatever.
had for breakfast.
Yeah, we'll touch on that quickly. But first of all, I don't really know why GR Gaming's in the China qualifier. I assume that they have to be in China playing to play in the China qualifier because EXTREMESLAND has always been a very region-based tournament, and they are obviously a Russian team. But I assume that if they're playing from China, maybe they can play in the qualifier.
Isn't
Doesn't
the
matter.
Hong
They didn't make
Kong
it.
or something as well? Maybe they're in Hong
They
Kong.
are, yeah.
Because there is Hong
Yeah.
Kong teams that play in these as well.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, the TLDR is it's either Tyloo or Lynn Vision that's going to make it through to join Rare Atom and Cat Evil. And, this kind of begs the question for me right now. Is Rare Atom just the number one Chinese team right now? Like, I think you actually have to make the argument that Rare Atom is China's best team right now because Lynn Vision is a fucking shambles and Tyloo's kind of halfway to being a shambles. They haven't beaten Rare Atom in anything of relevance lately. So yeah, I think it's Rare Atom 1, Tyloo 2, and Lynn Vision maybe not even 3. Like at this
losing
point.
Jam Young actually makes me feel like that. Like I was like Tyloo far and away the best team. And like the games that I've seen from them, like they are so dominant, like when they're feeling it. And yeah, losing Jam Young, like I feel like they're just going to struggle to replace him for ages. And we're just going to see some like mid bloke running around in Tyloo. And I'm going to be casting Tyloo games, guys. And I'm going to be like, wow, Mercury's really good. Like Mosey's really good. But there's this guy who just goes like 10 and 15 every game and leaks the site and they fucking lose.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, whatever. We'll see what happens at
Move on.
EXTREMESLAND. I do recall we did discuss Atox last week, so we don't really need to touch on that. The only thing that's going to matter there is the EXTREMESLAND situation with regards to IHC. And on top of that, if you didn't see, Mongolz have decided not to attend EXTREMESLAND, which is a little bit of a shame. They did cite that. I think they cited some kind of clash or something like that, but I can't imagine that there's a clash in the first 2 weeks of January. Like, I don't think there's any other CS going on at that point in time. So my assumption is potentially they're, first of all, maybe not attending because of the whole Valve ranking situation, where if they would lose there, it would cause very big problems for them and give Asian teams a bunch of points from Mongolz. That's a potential thought process. Second, it's just a burnout thing, and it's like, this is not a very important tournament for us. We'll take the extra couple of weeks break because it's going to be a really, really big year. Which I would imagine that is probably more likely the case there for the Mongolz. But what I will say is it's a little bit disappointing, obviously, that they're not going to play at EXTREMESLAND because they won the last EXTREMESLAND, be the defending champions. It is an Asia tournament. This is the problem with these. Same thing that happened, for example, in ANZ when Renegades and Winterfox and whatever were playing internationally. And you, to an extent, almost get that sometimes with like Talon, for example. It's like, we don't really know. We don't really get to see these guys play in ANZ. Same thing now with Mongolz. It's like, we're not going to get to see them play the domestic Asia tournaments because they're too good. They've already left. So it's like, fuck, now we're still kind of that feeder region where once you get good enough, you just leave. And so you never really get to have the cool teams at your events, which is, yeah, a little bit sad, but, kind of understandable. So what's happened there is now there's going to be another qualifier for Mongolia, and, whoever makes it, I guess. IHC still retain their slot, even though they don't have a core roster at the moment, or at least they only have like 2 out of the 5 that did qualify. The other guys have gone to Chinggis Warriors, so maybe Chinggis Warriors will qualify. Fucking who knows what's going on there, but that's what's happening with Extremesland. So there you go. That's all you need to know if there's anyone wondering. We did have a couple of questions from last week before we wrap up this episode. It's going to be a bit of a shorter one, but Blair's got things to do. He's a busy man over there in Romania or wherever the fuck he is.
I thought the major was in China. What are you guys
I thought the major was in China, but
apparently it's in Romania. That's crazy.
Do you know what's actually sad though, by the way? I'm going to be in China for the duration of the major. I'm literally leaving on Sunday night, so I'll arrive in Shanghai not in Shanghai, in Hangzhou. I'll be in, but I'll be in China from Monday next week until the final, like the grand final, is on the same day as the other tournament that I'm working. So I will not get to see any of the major.
Surely you can find a couple of days in between to go for, at least for the elimination stage.
I don't think there's any time. And also, I'm pretty sure we can't get in anyway, because, like
Surely
I said, I'm pretty sure it's open.
Just ring Paula. He's half Asian.
Ring up my mates at VSPO and say, "Hey, fellas, can you get me in?" Actually, I know some people. I'm sure I could find some people in Perfect World. Anyway,
dude,
regardless,
100% get it.
Basically, what I'm saying is there.
I mean, when I was in China, there was a Valorant event going on there, and I just rang up the person at the TO, and it was the same thing. It was only like you could only get tickets if you were Chinese or something, or like you had to have government ID. And I was just like, "Hey, can I come?" And they're like, "Yeah, all right." So pull one of those.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm going to be working on that final day, the grand final of the Shanghai Major. I will also be working a Chinese tournament in China. It's not a Chinese tournament; it's just a tournament in China for Crossfire. And I was really, because like when I looked at the dates, I was like, I really hope that the dates line up that I can maybe like go and see the final or something like that, because it would be so easy to just go to Shanghai and like stay there for a day or two. But it didn't. It just feels like so cruel, my life just feels so cruel. It's like you get to be in China for the Chinese major, the first Asia major, when you are literally like the guy who loves Asian Counter-Strike, but you don't get to go. It's like, for fuck's sake, like what do I have to do, man? What do I have to do? Anyway, besides,
it's like when you had Blast Singapore. I won't lie, I was a little tempted to just, it's very close for me. It's like 2 hours flight, right? I was very tempted to just head down. A lot of Singapore, Malaysian Counter-Strike buddies and everyone said, dude, come on down, it's gonna be a good time. And then I would have 100% gone, but then I had to do this Berlin event, the Thunder Pick one, which is like a 2-day event, and I missed the entire thing. So I feel you, but such is life. Such is life. Maybe next year. All right, let's go on to the questions. These are from Murazrai. He's a shout out. He's a serial question asker, so shout out Murazrai. If you'd like to ask us a question, drop it in the comments. First one is, it has been rumored that the next major will feature 32 teams. It's unlikely, but would it be better to break up the regions for better regional representation? I mean, it was a massive blunder when the entire African continent gets shoved into Asia, especially when Floppy and Sonic qualified from North America. So, first of all, don't know about 32 teams at the major, whatever. No idea about that one. But it's been rumored, yes.
As far as the regional representation is concerned, it's kind of hard to say yes or no. I think the way that Valve is going about things, it's almost like they don't really want that regional representation as much as what has previously been the case. I think the best way to do it, because we know that there's going to... we don't know, but there has been the rumor again that there's going to be an Asia qualifier. But what that entails, we still don't know. Like, is that going to include all of these regions? I think the best way to probably do that, if you're going to do it, what I would actually like to see for the majors is something where maybe you're inviting like the top, let's say 8 or 16 teams or whatever, and the rest of the slots are actually invites to a qualifier. So you don't get... What is it right now going forward? It's going to be like, in theory, X amount of slots per region, and based on your ranking, you get invited or not invited. And that's that. Unless you're in Asia, in which case, apparently, there's a qualifier. Why do we not have a North America qualifier that invites or an America's qualifier that, you know, let's say the top. Oh, fuck, this is too hard to explain, man, without some fucking graphics.
I
but
get,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also like, at least for Asia, the biggest problem is there aren't enough events. There just aren't enough events for teams to accrue points, apart from Mongols who get to travel because they have cracked that ceiling, so to speak, right? And I think that's why for Asia, I worry. I won't lie, I really, really worry.
But that's why I think they're doing this qualifier. That's why that's why it's not confirmed. I don't think it's confirmed, but the rumor is that there's going to be a qualifier for Asia, and it's going to be however many teams. I think someone said 16. I don't know if that's true or not. But let's say Mongols get an auto invite, right? Because they're going to be a top 10 team in the world. They're going to get invited to the major. They're going to get the Asia invite, whatever the fuck. Maybe there's one Asia invite, and that goes to the Mongols. Then there's going to be like 2 more slots or whatever for Asia. You are then inviting the 2nd to the 17th ranked Asia teams to this Asia qualifier. So then they all play off for those slots. Why would that be specific to Asia only, right? If we're going to say, let's say there's 16 invites to the next major, okay? One's Asia, fucking, I don't know, 6 are for NA, and 9 are for Europe or something like that, if I'm doing my maths right. So you're inviting teams 1 to 9 based on the European ranking. And then from 10 to 30 or whatever, however many, let's say there's 20 teams in the qualifier. 10 to 30, you're inviting those teams into a qualifier for that region. So you are getting all the best teams in the world, but you're also giving an opportunity for like you know, if you're going to be in a team that's going to get invited and the invites are going to go to 24, what the fuck, that 25th team? Can you really say that 25th team is that much worse than the 24th team, that they don't get invited, but that, you know what I mean, that the 24th team does? Like, that's my issue here globally. And to tie it back to the question, I think it would be better to have that like regional aspect still, because then you still get the kind of RMR type vibe, but it's based on, and what Valve wants is that it's based on the whole year, right? To even get an invite into it. So let's say, do away with open qualifiers to the RMRs. This is a better way of explaining it. Do away with the open qualifiers to the RMRs. Have the invites to the RMRs be based on the Valve ranking. But if you're so good that it's so obvious that you don't need to be at an RMR, Na'Vi, fucking Mao's, fucking whoever, Vitality, you are already invited. You're in the top 8 invite to the major. Fuck it. You're in the major.
But isn't that like full circle to what we had earlier, right? When you make it like top 8 in the previous major, you had a direct invite into the major.
Yeah, but that was based purely on your result at the major. This is now based on the ranking, the Valve ranking, which takes into account the entire scene.
Yeah, I see it. I don't know, man. I won't lie. I think I just want to wait and see. It's too convoluted right now, in all honesty. But taking away the RMR, I said this on the desk as well. Like, watching Passion UA just make it through was such a heartwarming and a great story. Yeah. You know, like,
and that would still be possible in this system, because they would get the invite as the 40th best team in fucking Europe. You know?
But that's the thing. 40th is still a cutoff, right? There's no chance for.
But at that point, look, at that point, you know, it's got to cut off somewhere. Let's be real. At that point, it's like, you know, we're making it so that it's not, we literally missed the major because we didn't have like this Tyloo Lynn Vision situation from the RMR, right? Instead of that being an invite to the RMR and then Tyloo having the chance to qualify to the RMR, which they fucked, so that's on them. That was a situation where if this was going forward, they either do or do not get invited to the major. And there's no recourse. There's no other way you can make it. That's it. It's done at that point. And that may be because whatever tournament you played on was not on this fucking ranking for whatever reason. Right? And okay, fair enough. You know, if you're that 40th team and you miss the major, fine. Like, no one gives a fuck.
I don't know. I think if they go by rankings, it's just going to fuck OS and Asia teams, most likely. And I think that's what's going to happen unless they do some kind of regional event. I mean, I think they have it right. Like, this stage that we're going to see now is like, I think what I'd like to see, where it's like, you do have multiple different teams coming from different regions, proportionately given slots. And that's what should be the qualifier to the major. You should have to play a gauntlet against the best teams from other sub regions, and then the teams that are the best in the world be in the top of the major. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be like, more likely qualifier slots, and then the majority of the teams come from ranking. Like a fuck ton of the teams will just come from the ranking.
I mean, I understand that, and I think that there is definitely value in inviting teams based on the ranking. I just think it shouldn't be the majority of teams. It should be like top 8 or top 10 or whatever. Like if we're going to go to 32, let's say it's the top 10 get invited to the major, and then everything else is invited into a qualification system that then gives you those remaining 22 slots.
Yeah.
And whatever the distribution is based on region strength or whatever. But, in that case, basically what you're doing is you're having a much larger spread of teams in the major process instead of having it be, we are literally inviting 20 out of 24 teams and the other 4 slots are qualifying through this Asia qualifier, right? That means there's only 20 teams that are involved at all.
No, I think it's
whereas
more
now
likely
you can
gonna be
invite
like,
hundreds into this whole RMR system, okay, major fucking qualifier system, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think it's like too hard. I think it's too hard to do anything other than like legitimately like. What I think they'll do is like just invite most of them based off rankings, and then like it'll be like 1 slot or 2 slots for Asia and like 1 slot for OS or something like that. Because anything else is too fucking hard. Like I don't think any of these TOs are going to run like an Asia like regional event. It's just not going to happen. So at the end of the day, if they're going to go ranking based for the majority of it, then they want to have slots for Asia at all. Either they just won't give slots to teams if they're not in the top 32, and then
so
Asia
boring,
teams will have
it's
to go
so
abroad.
Boring.
Or they'll just give certain slots, like certain amount of slots you can qualify. Like, we'll just run an Asia qualifier, and we'll just run an OS qualifier, and 1 slot for OS and like 2 slots for Asia. And if you're a Middle Eastern or South African team or something, which that was part of the question, then go to the Asia qualifier. Like, go to fucking Singapore or something, buddy. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that's great. It's all well and good. Like, actually, to be honest, if there is an Asia qualifier next year or next major next year, I like that. I actually like that. I will be happy because we will still have.
It's not better than Asia RMR though. Like it's going to be
that's
an
essentially
online
what it is.
Fucking
though.
qualifier or something.
Is it though?
I would say so, most likely, but we'll see.
Right, well, maybe if it was online,
who's going to run an OS LAN, bro? Like OS. Use
anyway.
OS as an example. We get 1 OS slot. Who's running the OS LAN? No one's doing that shit.
Defrag actually would. I'm not even fucking capping. Mav would be in there like a fucking Bleh into a fucking Megan Fox is all I'll say.
What the fuck?
You're just assuming I had like horrible. I would dream about playing Counter-Strike with her. That's all I dream about.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
Like Transformers or Megan Fox and me just 1v1ing in a fucking A map. That's what I was thinking of.
Blair has dreams about being Sam Witwicky from Transformers fucking the movie. All I'll say is, at least if there's a qualifier, that's going to be cool. But
all right, next question.
Next question. Yeah. Look, quick answer. Yes, I think we would like it if there was regional representation, but that's because we're biased and we're from Asia. Next question. Will Valve make a female-oriented major? Poland female being in the top 30 has caused controversies. It would be sick to see HSG female to compete if it really exists. I think no.
No,
I think no. I don't think they will. I think it will be, if you want to qualify as a female team into the major, fucking go off, Queens. But otherwise, I don't see that happening.
I also feel like, obviously the was it Navi Javelins who won the who came 37th or something in the Valve rankings, was it? No, it was Poland Effie, which was basically the Navi Javelins team. I think that is something that Valve needs to address as well, where you have, because the female only tournaments, it's the anomaly to Valve's general rule set about how the invites work. It's a female-only tournament. They can play that, so there has to be a different way to deal with that. I don't have a solution. As an aside, I think having your ESL Impacts and Game Changers equivalent, from Valorant, for example, I think is good for the scene overall. A lot of people, the usual HLTV forum gremlins, the dumb ones, not the smart ones. The really smart ones there as well. You know, they're like, let them play the majors and everything. Guys, it's not about representation as well. It's representation, but it's also about there's not enough of a talent pool for female players, right? I wish you had another Anna, for example, the best female player in the past 3 years. We want more of her to come out. That can only happen once you have more women playing the game, and them watching these girls play and have a role model, thereby increases the pool. So I like the women events being there. I think it's very important. I don't agree, but I think there has to be some change in the rules so to make sure a scenario like this doesn't happen, like a women's tournament being $1 million and then winning it and being top 30. That's not ideal. Do I think Valve's going to make a female in a tournament World Cup? I doubt it. That's not what Valve does. But at the same time, I do hope that the female teams do definitely deserve a few events of their own. That's
where that's where Valorant and CS is very different, because the game changers in Valorant is basically the equivalent of if Valve did have a female major. Like, they have actually invested themselves into making these tournaments for
it's
female
a completely
and
separate circuit, right?
gender minorities. Yep, completely separate circuit with a world championship every year. Very clear set out structure. And Impact is just not the same. It's a TO running it. It's not the publisher actually getting behind it and pushing it. So that's where it's always going to be different.
It would be a nice touch of Valve to do it, but then people would start calling them woke. So I don't know,
But even what I will say as well is, like, people, at least I see Game Changers as like a really nice alternative. Like, I like what they do, and I work on a lot of those products, so maybe I'm a bit biased, but that doesn't stop people from being fucking gremlins in Valorant as well. I would say the large majority, a lot of people in Valorant are more supportive. I would say the ratio of supportive people is higher in Valorant than CS, and the ratio of people who are, females or gender minorities that actually play is much, much higher. Like, even today, I was playing it in high elo lobbies Valorant in OS, and there was a girl in my game fucking carrying me. Like, actually popping the fuck off. And in CS, that was a total rarity when I was a player. There was like very, very few people, and I feel like in Valorant it's like quite often that you run into people. So, and I think that they've done it well, but that doesn't stop people from being fucking weirdos. Even in Valorant, there's plenty of weirdos.
Right? It reduces it though, right? I would like to imagine that having game changers still, it must have a positive effect overall. And I agree with both. I think game changers is, in all of esports, the only well-marketed, well-known female-only circuit out there. I think, honestly, Riot have done a very good job overall. There's so much hype behind game changers that sometimes I wouldn't say it rivals, the Valorant, the open circuit finals or whatever. It doesn't. No. But it's there when it comes to, like, it's on people's minds. They're like, oh, GC's happening. Let's watch it. Production's great. You get all the top talent from, the main circuit, working there as well. So I would love to see that from Valve, but that's asking too much. So yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think, first of all, it's a bit of a double standard for us to say, yeah, we want regional representation from Asia, and then to say, no, we can't have regional representation, or we can't have gender-based representation.
This is exactly that's the perfect point. You've literally just made the perfect point, because again, that's where Valorant is just the complete opposite. Like, fucking Riot gets in there and they run Asia leagues, and they fucking actually put the effort into Asia. And Asia was not that competitive initially, or some of these Chinese teams were not that competitive initially, and they keep doubling down and investing in it. And then these minor regions actually have something to play for and structure and clearly defined kind of circuit to work towards, and they improve and they become better. But CS does not follow that philosophy. CS is about who's the best at Counter-Strike. And, a lot of the factors that lead to being the best at Counter-Strike are how European are you, and how many tournaments can you play in, and, who are your practice partners.
Yeah, and I mean, just in regards to qualifying, the top, like qualifying into the top 30 or whatever, what have you, is there not a world where this is going to sort itself out anyway? Like, because as far as I understand, VRS, it is somewhat based on who you play, right? So, like, if you're playing only in the women's league, yes, you're going to be earning money, but you won't, I assume, be gaining as many points as if you were playing in the open circuit and beating the open circuit teams. That's, I believe,
also,
how it works.
I need to run.
Yeah, I saw your message. Let's wrap it up.
I didn't see.
Sorry. I saw it 1 minute ago, which is now 2 minutes to go. All right, quickly, last question. Honeycombs Cup number 14. After single elimination brackets in previous iterations will feature a Swiss-style bracket. Is this change good for the Japanese CS scene?
I'll give it a very quick answer.
I have no idea, bro.
Yes, it's a great change for the Japanese scene. I have no idea there's still a Japanese scene in Counter-Strike.
Blair, when are you casting Honeycombs Cup, bro? Like, you've been ghosting them for so long. Like, what's going on, bro?
I'm actually so happy there's a Honeycomb Cup happening in Japan. And if that leads us to a Japanese team, it's great. Also, yes, Swiss system, I think, is better than the single elim because, sometimes single elim is not great for the region, whatever. But yeah, I think that's a good change. I didn't know it existed, that the scene existed, but I'm happy. I'm happy for them. How do you
on those VR points, boys. Let's go.
That's episode 69. If you want to see the episode 69 uncut edition, buymeacoffee.com/Elfishguy. Go check that out. It'll be over there, I promise. It's got good footage of Bleh. All right, we're going to fuck off. Have a good one.
Baby.
We'll see you next time. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out. Hey guys, just at the end of this video, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Jean, who is my first supporter on buymeacoffee.com. If you'd also like to support me financially or any of my content, make sure to check out the link. It is in the description box below.